Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So today we heard that 4.0 is released in the keynote session, and he said it's a huge release. It's a milestone release. So how big is it? Let me give you some number here. So let's do some comparison. This is 3.7 to 3.8. We have almost 1K commits, right? And then 3.8 to 3.9, around 500. And how about our previous major release, 2.8 to 3.0, 700. So what about our 4.0 release? It's about double of this number, 1.5K commits. No matter its commits numbers or files changes, it's the top one in the Kafka history. So you can know this is a really huge release in Kafka. So what does that mean to our being a Kafka user or a Flink user? I think most of you must want to know about that. So let me share with you here. Before that, let me introduce myself to you. I'm Luke Chen, coming from Red Hat as a principal software engineer. Our team mainly works on Kafka and its ecosystem, including Stringy, which is to run Kafka on top of Kubernetes or OpenShift, and Croxicious, which is a Kafka proxy, allow you to extend the capability of Kafka. For example, encryption at rest. To protect you from sending data to a broker, receiving data from broker, and storing data in broker, they are all encrypted and is capable by using Croxicious. Oh, by the way, they are all open source for sure because we are coming from Red Hat. And then finally, the console, which is a visualization tool for you to visualize Kafka. So that's what our team is doing right now. And I'm also an Apache Kafka committer and PNC member. OK. While I prepared these slides, I was interested in knowing what will ChatGPT give me if I ask him all I need to know about Apache Kafka 4.0 as a Kafka user. Maybe he will give me all the answers that I want to share, so I can ask you, please ask ChatGPT, and let's end here. Let's see how he answered me, what he gave me. So the long answers here, let's take a look one by one. First, removal of ZooKeeper. We already knew that in the keynote session, so let's skip that, and then transition to craft mode. This is basically the same thing as the previous one. Because of removal of ZooKeeper, you have to upgrade your cluster to craft. OK, next one, upgrade consideration. Upgrading to 4.0 involves careful planning, including transition from ZooKeeper to craft. So basically the same thing, right? So what about the remaining three things? Next one, change login framework. Yeah, Kafka 4.0 changed log4j2 to log4j, change from log4j to log4j2. I will show it to you later. And that's a good change. And the other one is discontinuation of MirrorMaker 1. MirrorMaker 1 will be dropped in 4.0 and use 4.2 only. And last one is future enhancement. Looking ahead, Kafka 4.x version are expected to focus on improvements. So basically, it tells you nothing, right? Yeah. So that's the answer from ChatGPT. A little disappointing. So don't worry, I will give you more better answer than ChatGPT. OK. Let's take a look at a brief brief diagram of Kafka history. We can take a look at the left-hand side. 0.7 is the oldest Kafka release I can find in Apache Kafka. And then 0.11, we introduced message format 2. Why I put that in the diagram? Because we still use message format 2 until now. And I will tell you why that's important. I want to put it here later. And then 2.1 release, we introduced replication protocol improvement and additional compression protocol supported. And then let's jump to version 3.3. Craft is in production ready, and 3.6 migration from ZooKeeper to Craft is GA. And now we are in 2025 with 4.0. So this is basically a simple diagram of the Kafka history. So after that, let's take a look at the important changes in Kafka 4.0 for Kafka users. First of all, ZooKeeper removal. I think most of you already know that what's the responsibility of ZooKeeper in Kafka cluster. But just in case some of you didn't know, I'll give you two simple diagrams to show how it works, how it's positioned in Kafka cluster. So this is the high-level diagram to see Kafka architecture. Basically, with ZooKeeper, all the brokers will connect to the ZooKeeper, and one of the broker node will be the controller node, and the controller node will take data and will put data and retrieve data from the ZooKeeper. So basically, ZooKeeper serves like a metadata store, but of course it has more than that, more responsibility than just a metadata store, but mainly it serves as a metadata store. So let's put it as a metadata store. And what about ZooKeeper is removed? It looks like this. We replace ZooKeeper with another Kafka node with the role of controller. So with that, the metadata is stored in another Kafka node. And before ZooKeeper, before Craft, when we was in ZooKeeper, one of the broker has to become the controller to be responsible to tell all the brokers what's the update of the metadata, and then also update to the ZooKeeper about any changes. After we migrate to Craft, as is said here, it will be the controller, not just the metadata store only. It will take the controller role to do the controller management, controller responsibility for the brokers. So as a role of broker, you only need to do is to handle the request from the client and then store data in your storage. So basically, that's it. You don't have to worry about controller responsibility anymore. So that's a good improvement. That's why we think that the ZooKeeper removal is very important. And how important is that? This is a sentence from the Kafka 4.0 blog post. With that, Kafka simplifies deployment and management, eliminating the complexity of maintaining a separate ZooKeeper Ansible. This significant change significantly reduces operation. Anyway, you can read that. Yeah, but it is very important, and I really look forward to this feature for a long time. So, what about what does it mean to Kafka users? It means you have to upgrade your Kafka to migrate your ZooKeeper to Craft soon. by following this document. So here's a link. You can check that in the Kafka documentation. And if you encounter anything, report to Kafka community. We will help you. Okay. Next important change. Change constraints and default value for some configurations. We all know that when we introduce a new configuration in Kafka, we will give it a default value as well as some constraints like minimum value, maximum value, acceptable value, something like that. But when time goes by, we get more operational experience. We might find some of the default value or constraints doesn't fit what we are right now. So we think in 4.0 is a good time to change that. So let's take a look what it means to users. Here's the change we have. So let's take a look one by one. First of all, log segment bytes. It controls the maximum size of the log segment. By default, it's 1 GB, and it's not changed. What we changed is the minimum value. Before the change, the minimum value you can set is 14 bytes. So you can imagine if a user set the log segment bytes to 14, it means the broker node will create a lot of small 40 bytes files in your broker node. It will cause a lot of pressure in your operating system, right? So that's why we think we want to move it to 1 megabyte to help improve the bad configuration from humans. And the other change here is recovery thread numbers. This is the thread number we want to users can control when the Kafka broker is doing a log recovery. And we all know when doing log recovery, this broker is not accepting any request, the client requests. So it's really safe to increase this recovery thread number to adapt to your hardware spec. So we think 1 is really small, at least at the current era. So 2 might be still small, but we are just be conservative. You can tune that by yourself. You have 4 cores in your hardware, so why not change to 4? And next one, linger MS. I think most of you should be familiar with this. It's that a producer can set how long the batch will keep in the producer side before it's sent to broker. By default, it's 0. It's 0, trust me. I know that. And the 0 means if we won't do any waiting in the producer side, and we will send to the broker directly. It means we will send a lot of small batches to the broker instead of waiting for some time and accumulating more data and send them in one batch, in one request. So that's why we think it's good to increase that. But if your use case is to set to 0, you want to send it as quick as possible, please change that explicitly because we already changed it to 5. Finally, log message timestamp after max MS. It's a little hard to understand what it means. It basically means the broker, what the timestamp the broker can accept sent from the producer. So let's take an example. If a producer set a timestamp to 2030 of the day, year 2030, and send to the broker, by default, this value is set to forever, which means the broker will accept whatever message sent from the producer. And with that, this log segment will not get expired before 2030, year 2030, right? Because no matter what time for your retention is set, it will never expire because this log segment will be in 2030 will be expired after 2030. So that's why we think it's a bad default value, and we should change it to 1 hour. But of course, if you think your use case is not, we don't want to just accept 1 hour later, change that by yourself. So that's the impact to users. Please take a look at the list. If you have configured it, you didn't configure configure them, please take a look and see if that changed your default configuration and you want to change that. And after upgrade to 4.0, please remember to change them. OK, next important change. Drop support for message format 0 and version 1. This is a diagram I showed you earlier. So you can see we introduced message format version 2 in 2017. Until now, we are still using version 2. That means version 0 and version 1 is really out of date. So that's why we think it's a good time. We want to drop the support for them. So what does that mean to users? Before that, we can take a look at the important changes in message format 2. It contains partition leader epoch field, so that it's really important to help the replication protocol to maintain to avoid some like late arrival request or zombie node or race condition issues we had. So this is a very important improvement. And then sequence ID, producer ID, that's for the important producer, transactional producers. It's really important too. And finally, record headers. So that's why we think message format 2 is really up to date until now. And version 0 and 1 is really out of date. And what does that mean to users? First, log message format version is already removed in 4.0. The removal of the config means even if you set this config, there will be no error thrown. It just not be honored. So please take a look at your configuration and see if you have this configuration set. If it's set, please try to remove it and see how it works. If it works normal or something unexpected. Because after 4.0, it will not be honored. And the next one, write support. Write support for message format 0 and 1 will not be supported. So broker will reject your data if you are sending with message format 0 and 1. Please remember. On the consumer side, everything will be as usual because there might be some old data stored in broker, and we don't want to break the consumer to consume from them. So it's still normal as before. You can still consume data from a broker if the data is in message format 0 or 1. Just producer cannot write data with message 0 or 1. Okay? Next important change. The old client protocol API versions are removed. Another removal, what does that mean? Let's take the diagram again. At 2.1, we introduced two important improvements containing the replication protocol improvement and additional compression algorithm introduction. And that's the reason why we chose 2.1 as the baseline. And every protocol before 2.1 will not be supported anymore. So what does that mean to users? Here's the list of the minimum supported version, minimum supported client version for all kinds of clients. Let's take a look at Apache Kafka, for example. If we are using 1.7, after the broker is upgraded to 4.0, it will not get supported anymore. And let's take Kafka Java client, for example. If your client is using 2.0, it will not be supported anymore. And you must be interested in knowing, what if I don't upgrade my clients and directly move my broker to 4.0? What will that happen? Let's take a look at the Java client, for example. Java client of the minimum supported version is 2.1. So if client is using 2.1 or 2.0 or before, and the server is upgraded to 4.0, you will get unsupported version error. And vice versa. If your broker version is less than 2.1 and broker is upgraded to 4.0, the same error will be thrown. So it's really important that before you upgrade your client or broker to 4.0, check this version before you upgrade them. And fortunately, or unfortunately, I don't know how to say that, we have a metric to help broker to know what client version they used, and of course the name. So there's a metric called client software name and client software version. So for example, if users are using Java client 2.0, you will get this metric in the broker side. But like what I said, it's fortunate, but unfortunately, it only supported till starting from 2.0. That means if a client is using, let's say 2.2, you will get unknown and unknown from the broker side. So if you're lucky, in your broker matrix, you can see, oh, every client software name and version are known, that is no unknown on the metric. It means, okay, it should be safe because all the versions should be 2.4 or later, and it should be fine. And of course, you can check if the client software name is Apache Kafka. Check the table I showed you earlier. If you are safe, then you can safely upgrade to 4.0 without asking the clients to upgrade their version. Okay. And next important change for Kafka users is Java version supported. This is how the minimum supported version will change since 4.0. So you will see broker tool connect are already upgraded to 17. But why does client and stream still stay in 11? The reason is we all understand. To ask the applications clients to upgrade is a little more difficult than asking the broker to do the upgrade. So we keep the client to support 11 and above. But it doesn't mean you can only upgrade to 11. You can always upgrade to 17 or 27 or the latest 25. Currently, Apache Kafka testing under 17, 11, and 27. So it should be safe to upgrade to Java 27 too. But just in case you didn't know, this is the list of the minimum supported Java version. So please check your Java version before upgrade your broker or client to 4.0. Okay. The next important change. Next generation of consumer rebalance protocol. Let's take a look some benchmark diagram. By the way, this source is coming from current to 2024. So if you are interested in more detail, you can check this talk by David, the author of this KEEP. And you can see, after adopting new coordinator, the offset commit time is reduced from 800 milliseconds to 400 milliseconds. So it's a huge improvement. And then rebalance protocol. If there are some store members, you will see with the new rebalance protocol, it will be very stable and consistent compared with all cooperative rebalance protocol. There will be some, some nodes are under low throughput and some are high throughput, which is not good. So that's why we think this is a good improvement in 4.0. And what does that mean to users? It means after 4.0, the broker side will have new group of coordinator be ready. And new rebalance protocol will be enabled by default. But the consumer side will still, by default, use the old rebalance protocol because we are afraid if there are some consumers are in 4.0, but broker is in, let's say, 3.9, there will be some errors thrown because the client is expecting new protocol, new group protocol, but broker doesn't support it. So that's why we didn't enable that by default. But we recommend if you are sure your consumers and broker are both in 4.0, please set to this configuration in your consumer side. You will enjoy all the benefit that I showed you earlier, the benchmark, the high throughput for all consumers, something like that. So that's a recommendation. By default, it won't be enabled, so please remember that. Okay, next important change. Log4j to Log4j2. This is the new Log4j configuration files. You can see it's in YAML, which makes you feel it's upgraded, right? It's not Java properties anymore. It's already upgraded. Yeah. So let's see what it means to users. Basically, because we are not the expert of Log4j2. So we just read the document from Log4j2 and provide information to you. In Log4j2, it said Log4j2 provides limited compatibility for Log4j configurations. That means after you upgrade to 4.0, even if you don't change anything in your Log4j configuration, it should be fine. But we can only say it should be fine. We cannot say you can 100 be fine because it's limited compatibility. We don't know what the limited means if you are configuring some unsupported configuration. So our recommendation, convert your existing Log4j configuration to Log4j2 by this tool. So please remember, when you upgrade to 4.0, you can try if there is anything unexpected with the login system. If no, maybe you can safely keep that as a Log4j configuration. But our recommendation is convert that. Okay, next thing. Mirror Maker 1 is dropped in 4.0. So if you are still using Mirror Maker 1, please upgrade to Mirror Maker 2. And finally, some of the important changes including queues for Kafka. This has another session 1 hour ago introduced by the author, Andrew. It's in early access right now. It's not enabled by default, but you can try that if you want. The other important change is Eligible Leader Replicas. It's still in preview, and by default, it's not enabled. You can enable that If you are interested to know how it can improve your leader election and some data under unclean shutdown, and then you can keep your data still. You can keep your data from losing any data in your broker. So try that. Okay, let's give some time to Flink users. Flink connector Kafka. Let's take a look at diagram again. We said message format 0 and 1 is dropped. So basically, if users are using 0.11 and later, it should be fine. And the same, the old protocol is not supported. So 2.1 is the baseline. So basically, we can safely say if the Kafka is in 2.1 or later, it will be safe. So let's take a look. When does the Flink connector Kafka move its Kafka version to 2.1? It's in 1.9. You can see this page. It bumped the version from 2.01 to 2.2.0. So does that mean if you are using Kafka, if you are using Flink connector Kafka, and your version is 1.9 or later, you will be safe? Unfortunately, no, because in Flink 1.11 and before, it released not only Flink connector Kafka, it also released Flink connector Kafka 0.11, 0.10, 0.9, 0.8 for backward compatibility. So what does that mean to Flink users? Okay, sorry. So after 1.12, it finally released the support of the old connectors and only released the latest version of the Flink connector Kafka. So what does that mean to Flink users? This is the table you need to keep in mind. If you are using Flink connector Kafka without suffix, and you are using 1.9 or later, you are safe, even if your broker is upgraded to 4.0. But if there are some other cases, like version less than 1.9, and you are using 0.11, 0.10, 0.9, blah, blah, blah suffix, please upgrade your Flink connector Kafka version to the latest one. Otherwise, you'll get unsupported version error. Okay. Finally, from this discussion mailing list, you can see after Flink 2.0 preview, basically it soon will be 2.0 release in Flink community. They will adapt Kafka 4.0 1 or 2 weeks later. So that means once your Flink is upgraded to 4.0, we also need to make sure your broker is compatible with this change. Otherwise, another unsupported version will get thrown if you still remember. Okay? Okay, time is not much left, so let's jump to the summary. Here are some of the checklists for you before you upgrade your Kafka to 4.0. First, broker side. Please migrate your cluster to Craft as soon as possible. And then check the default value change in keep 1030 to see if any changes you want to in your broker. And also, there are some minimum supported client version are listed earlier. If you are using some old version, please upgrade them. Message format 0 and 1 are dropped, and low message format version is removed. It won't be honored even if you are set, so please take a look. And also, please upgrade your Java version to 17 or above and convert your localhost configuration. Finally, Kafka clients. Again, check the default value in 10, keep 1030 to see if there's any change is necessary. And upgrade your broker version to 2.1 or later in case there are some error will be thrown. And please remember, message format 0 and 1 is dropped, and upgrade your Java version to 11. And look for J configuration. Lastly, Flink connector Kafka. I already listed the table for you. 1.9 is the minimum supported version. If you are not using some connector with suffix. If you're using this suffix, please upgrade them soon. And before upgrading, also check the client, because basically Flink connector Kafka is also a Kafka client. So also check this checklist. And also, if your Flink connector Kafka is moved to 4.0, you also need to check the broker version. Okay, so finally, I want to thank all the contributors in Kafka 4.0. Without you, we cannot complete release 4.0, this huge release. So, thank you very much.
Hi. So to talk about like upgrading Flink so that it can start consuming Kafka 4.0. If you can explain if that means that there will be a downtime while we upgrade, because like most of the Flink applications are built for like real-time data processing or analytics, right? Which means while you want your Flink to start consuming 4.0, it must be doing some computation in that moment, right? So if any organization really wants to shift to Kafka 4.0, does that mean they'll have to bring down the application, wait like for the existing Kafka, drain out, and then shift to the new Kafka 4.0 with the new Flink version?
I think, just like before, if you already did upgrade before, it should be the same. It should be the same. Not because of this change is huge or something. You just need some compatibility metrics you need to understand. Otherwise, it will be the same. Just another Kafka version upgrade.
Maybe the initial upgrades were easy compared to 4.0 because there were not that many breaking changes compared to what 4.0 is bringing.
Yeah, right.
So, for example, as soon as, let's say, AWS starts supporting 4.0, and now I want my application to start consuming the new AWS MSK, right? It's not that easy. I'll have to let Flink also upgrade, drain the existing MSK server, and then start consuming the new MSK server. Because if I directly start consuming it, it may break down because I need to fix something in Flink.
I don't think we have a way to, guarantee that it will be safely upgraded. So, yeah.
That's okay. Just wanted to understand.
Yeah.
One last question. Is there any like official document, like a user guide, that if we really want to like shift to 4.0 or upgrade any of the consumer clients or producer clients or even the Flink, is there any like wizard that we can follow officially and that will ensure the entire migration starting from Kafka to the Flink and the clients in between will be smooth?
I don't think so. There's a document like that because we just released 4.0 and 2.0. Flink 2.0 is not released yet. So
maybe someone will upgrade and put it on.
Yeah, maybe that's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So ZooKeeper was storing the file format, the metadata for some GSTD, or how the controller is using. How the controller is storing that metadata? Is it topics only? Or?
Yeah, that's another topic in the controller side.
So internal topic?
Yeah, just basically the topic. It's just Kafka topic and serve as a metadata store.
Hey, a quick question, right? We have a client called Kafka Python. Is it still an active community, Kafka Python?
So I remember I listed Kafka Python in the table earlier.
Right.
Yeah, so if not, don't worry. You can check the version of the keep. So this is that the one you used?
No. In my opinion, that is still not an active community, and even Confluent says don't use it. Is it? I don't think it's an active one. So I just want to take your view on it. Kafka Python. Is it getting the latest compatible changes for Kafka 4.0?
Sorry, one more time.
The Kafka Python client which you have right now, will it get the backward changes for Kafka 4.0?
Mm-hmm.
Will it?
Will that change after 4.0? Yeah, if you are using version less than this one, it will get unsupported version error. Otherwise, it will be safe. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So, quick question after what he asked. So, now the broker is going to take place for the ZooKeeper, right? How does the 4.0 guarantees the availability of that broker? Let's say, for example, if that broker is acting like a ZooKeeper now, if that goes down, does someone else becomes the coordinator and starts managing the metadata? Is it like replication is also happening amongst the brokers? Election is happening? Is it the same way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So basically, it works the same as the ZooKeeper. Okay. So even you are using ZooKeeper, you won't deploy ZooKeeper with just one node. You will deploy 3, right? Or 5 or whatever. So likewise, in the Kafka node, the controller can be 1 or 3 or 5 by your need. So if you only have one, of course, when this node down, there will be no controller. There will be no node take over because the role of the node is broker. That's defined by the configuration. So if you want to deploy more than one controller, start up 3 nodes with the role of controller, then it will, form a quorum and then serve as a quorum with some backup. So don't worry about the single point of failure.
What is the major advantage of Craft using here than ZooKeeper? So ZooKeeper is just a process which is running. So what does that Craft will do as a major advantage for the switchover?
What is the advantage of using controller metadata?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so the advantage is as an operator, a Kafka class operator, you don't need to learn two sets of project. One is Kafka, the other is ZooKeeper. There are some customers that having some problem when they are configuring ZooKeeper, or there are some problems when connecting broker and ZooKeeper. So for us, at least for me, I'm really happy that I don't have to worry about ZooKeeper's problem anymore. I can 100% focus on Kafka. So at least that's a benefit for me. But at least for Kafka, like Liz said, you just simplify the deployment and management. You just only need to worry about Kafka.
So Kafka runs only with one process now. No other process will be there other than Kafka. There won't be any ZooKeeper, Kafka, or any other process running behind.
Yeah, no ZooKeeper running behind, just Kafka. Just Kafka. So even better, you can run a node with controller plus broker in one node. So that means you can have broker role and controller role in one node. Not like before, you have to start up ZooKeeper, start up broker, and you can have a cluster to run, right? So right now, you can start up a controller and broker role in one node. So you just need to start up one node. So that's
what if that breaks? What if that node breaks?
If not, you mean the benefit of that? That can, save your resource. You can just run one node and get the Kafka cluster, and you only focus on Kafka.
What if the node goes down, the Kafka and controller, so broker and controller?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the same problem. Like this person asked, yeah. So if the controller goes down, like I said, just one the controller role is assigned when you are setting your configuration. So when the controller is down and no more controller is available, then your controller basically like ZooKeeper is down. Your cluster will not be available, right? So basically the same thing. With brokers want to work, you need to have a controller available first. So.
Just to add on, Luke, I think there's a concept called, if you're using Kraft or Craft, there's an internal topic that gets created called cluster metadata, which stores all the metadata information of the cluster. And due to the replication of that topic, the information will still be available with other brokers.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have another question. We have ACLs in ZooKeeper, right? How to migrate it? It is inbuilt, it will migrate to the Kraft, or how about it? ACLs, access control list. ACLs.
Sorry, too fast.
ACLs, access control list. If you are using ZooKeeper.
If you're using ZooKeeper
for storing the ACLs.
You want me to? So basically, it's just like another controller. So it stores the metadata in another topic inside controller node, and otherwise it just works as another broker. Besides, it also has the like K and Raft, means it's using Raft protocol to form the quorum. So quickly wrap it up. So if you are using controller, it will be a foreign quorum, a quorum formed, and yeah. So that's another difference thing with the normal broker. Otherwise, it basically works like a broker. Thank you.